Rick says that last season we experienced many problems with the lights kicking out, the GFI breakers due to worn wiring and broken sockets. This will be an issue again this year. However, we will deal with it as we did last year. The current decorations are in excess of 15 to 20 years old, and if the future we would stay with the lights, we should develop a replacement plan. This is Rick's words. In order to ensure the beauty and integrity of future seasons. Agreeably, Christmas lights do make a better and brighter impression, but consideration of quality should be a factor. It would not lack would not the lack of light service better to have badly worn, non-functioning units hanging from our main street poles? Ideally, new lighted decorations would serve the community, but with current budgetary considerations, is not a practical solution. The Department of Public Works will do our best to ensure whatever the direction of council chooses to be carried out. Basically, he's saying that he feels like there's a lot of man hours tied up in fixing the lights. So if we had a volunteer committee that was able to do some work on it, get them ready, that's it.
I think that'd be the best way to kind of attack it.
And I just wanted to get the information from him in the event that you guys were interested in moving forward this year. I sort of like the idea of maybe being in tandem with the lights, and I think Chuck mentioned that at the last meeting. If they were in tandem, they would actually provide some light for the banner itself.
It was Todd that said that.
Was it Tom? So.
Let us know when you want to meet.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on with the mayor's report. Under the heading Amelia Christmas Parade, the parade is scheduled for this Sunday, December 12th at 2 p.m. Even up until 6 o'clock tonight, we had a meeting. The permit is still pending while there are some loose ends being tied up. However, we anticipate approval of the permit sometime tomorrow. Would you suggest that that's accurate
Right
there, Chief?
So that's stuck with ODOT?
No, you want to provide a... there are some clarifications that need to be made. Just
Don't jump right up, Chief.
Parade's somewhat smaller this year. There was concern from a neighboring entity on the village taking the parade outside of Amelia Village. Laura's been working with the legal representatives, entities, and we anticipate things will resolve tomorrow. But the parade's going to be a little small.
Okay, well, I guess my question is council doesn't have to approve the permit?
No, the ordinance specifies the police chief issue that permit.
Okay, cool.
But I'm working with Laura and the attorneys from other entities, try to get a couple of I's dotted and T's crossed, but it should be good to go tomorrow.
I was just making sure we weren't on note for this. All I was.
No. Under the heading of zoning, and this is something that I will include in my report until I feel that I don't need to say this. Under the heading of zoning, we continue to struggle to stay on top of zoning issues within the village. With the current staffing levels and workload, it is all we can do to keep up with responding to resident complaints and questions. We're basically putting out fires and there's no opportunity to engage in proactive enforcement. Under the heading of Amelia Village Council on TV and website, Mr. Stewart is here tonight to begin videotaping council meetings. The agreement is that there's a $100 fee per meeting. We'll provide 6 DVDs of the meeting to this office at the meeting following the recorded meeting. So in other words, next meeting he'll come in and bring us recordings of tonight's meeting. Upload to YouTube in 10 to 14 minute segments by Friday the following meeting. Based on sample video provided, no additional microphones will be needed. If that should change for some reason, Mr. Stewart and I will reevaluate and make adjust accordingly. Under the heading of surveys, this is the last item that I have. Actually, I have one more item after this. Under the heading of surveys, at the last council meeting, I read the following comment to council. As the Finance Committee begins the tough task of making fiscal recommendations for the future, I think that having the answers to the following questions in hand would help in their decision-making process. Since we have a tough time getting community input, and because Amelia Village council members represent the community, I think it's fair that the answers be provided to the committee by council members unanimously if necessary. The hope was that the committee would have the opportunity to review the surveys prior to their special meeting last Saturday. I wanted to just follow up with council and see if there are any surveys or discussions on the subject tonight. If there's any, if there's just any discussion or anybody would like to add anything to that.
Mayor, I'd like to bring up something about the zoning.
Mm-hmm.
As a member of the Finance Committee, you know, we've been working numbers, trying to squeeze everything we can to create a budget that we can all work with. Now, when it comes to zoning, I want to ask the members of council, you know, what are we going to do? We've had more conversation about cameras. That is not a requirement. I would like to see if we can get some input, because we're struggling on that end of it. If anybody can help us out.
I'd like to see the first of the year. You're on the finance committee. I'm, not sure where we stand there, but I think the first of the year we definitely need to look at least hiring a part-time zoning inspector to start enforcing some of these codes. There are a lot of things in the village, and it's very difficult right now to make one person do it if you're not going to make the other person do it. So that's where I stand. I'd like to see us the first of the year at least get a part-time zoning inspector.
How do we look
Budget-wise.
budget-wise?
Right now, it's not appropriated.
No.
We could go over that down far, in a little bit more detail down on my part, if that's okay with everyone.
That'd be fine.
The reason I make it a part of my report every month, or every time we have a meeting, I can't emphasize enough how, at least what my concern is that through the lack of enforcement, I think it makes it more and more difficult to enforce moving forward into the future. I'm certainly not a lawyer, but I can see where a person can make a pretty good argument that, they've had their camper parked on their front lawn for 8 months now and nobody's had a word. And my neighbor's got the same thing. It just gets to a place where, in my opinion, I think that they're, and of course, in worst case scenarios, there could be some exposure to liability in the future. One of the problems that I see is when we have, what we're able to do is respond to complaints. When a resident calls and says, there's a guy that parks in his yard every day, and his yard is a mud hole. I try to keep my house up, it looks nice, and I got to live across the street from the guy that does this. So we're trying to keep up with our workload, and we issue the appropriate notifications, and then you have swimming pool regulations, and I found that some of the citizens who have taken the time to express their concerns are frustrated because this is not something we're proactively doing, because it's something that we're required to do, and it's something that our citizens pay for, and we're doing it now at a best effort. We're doing our best. We just don't have the personnel for it. So I just wanted to make sure it's clear. The reason it's in here every meeting is because I just want to drive it home, that it's something that I think is important. Whether you agree with the idea of zoning enforcement or not, we're still mandated to do it. And I just think I have concerns about enforcement in the future, as well as any liabilities that might be brought about by our lack of enforcement. So that's what I have on that subject. Anybody else have anything?
I think everybody's in agreement that we need a part-time person. It's just now that we're working through the numbers and see when we can do it. So
Originally, we had a figure of 17,000, my memory says, 15?
15.
Was that for part-time?
That's a part-time person, yeah. I mean, really, there's not enough work for a full-time person. It's really not.
You just split it with another village. Because they all got part-time zoning. So you say, call with David and say, hey, did your friend want to split a day with Amelia? You know? So they're not in trouble finding one, it's just being able to pay her.
Thank you.
They're welcome.
All right, with no other discussion on that item, unless anybody wants to interject anything, I'll move to the next thing, which I don't have on my report, but was in your packets. We have some nominations for the Citizen of the Year. And it's at that time of year where we accept nominations. The ad was placed, when was the ad placed? Do you know? About a month ago. And it looks like received a total of 3 or 4 nominations. A couple of duplicate nominations for people. But I just wanted to see if council had an opportunity to review the applicants and be prepared with a recommendation.
Well, myself personally, from what I read, is the operator of the beauty shop.
Yes.
Because she's doing a lot for senior citizens. Your wife could probably attest to that. For free sometimes, or for nickel-98 on her own time. Funeral homes for free, which is, you know. I think I myself would nominate her for the position. Now the other ones are good. No question about that. The Fox company's renovated 2 houses in the process of deterioration. Done a fine job. But I think the person that's contributed to the senior and the more indigent type people would carry a little more weight than money fixing up a house. So that's my opinion.
That's is that a motion?
Yeah.
A motion?
You can second, I don't care.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion or other input regarding the Citizen of the Year nominations?
Mayor, do you have one of the letters there in front of you that you could read, or?
Yeah. What I was sort of trying to do, and I don't know if there's a way to do this, is to not say the person's name so that this won't be broadcast right now. I'm going to see if I can get through this. See if I can get through this without reading.
Should we maybe read the letter when we present the award?
Yeah, we certainly will. I mean, but I'm welcome to. I'm happy to read it now if you'd like to do that. So
Yeah, if you can
Yeah.
not let the cat out of the bag.
Right, I'll do that. Dear sirs,
This is one.
this is one of them.
Yeah, this is one of the appointee.
Dear sirs, I'd like to take time to nominate X for owner and operator of the
Very
blank
good.
business
Very good.
located in Amelia for Amelia Citizen of the Year for 2010. I feel that this person has definitely made a positive impact on the lives of many local citizens. This person sends countless birthday and get well thinking of you and seasonal cards to friends and family members. Also visits nursing homes and residents and lavishes gifts upon them throughout the year. This person often buys school supplies for children, indigent students. This person truly is one of the most